working? Are you ready for us? As in they could hear me talking right now. So my brother knows that he should never say cherish the silence, because now he's going to get a 20-minute message on his voicemail. Okay. Two. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Again.
This week has been a difficult week. To look at the news, to see what is going on in our world, to see the amount of pain that is going on in every country from end to end. It's at moments like this, when we see people's hearts breaking, when we see a world filled with fear, that we should be reminded of our task as human beings, not to wait for God to fix the problem for us, but for us to be partners with God, to rebuild this world, to rebuild it with love, to rebuild it with justice, to rebuild it with compassion. So please join us as we welcome in Shabbat with Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Let us rebuild this world with love.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, la 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 la. I will build this world from love, la 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 la. And you must build this world from love, la 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 la. And if we build this world from love, yeah, la 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 la, then God will build this world from love.
Shabbat is on the seventh day of the week, whether we acknowledge it or not. But oh, how much sweeter the day is when we welcome the Sabbath Queen into our homes and into our lives, when we allow ourselves the opportunity to take a break from all the weary pressures of the world, to spend time with each other, and to open up our hearts to a better possibility. Please join us in L'cha Dodi on page 138, and we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
L'cha Dodi, likrot kala, penei Shabbat nekabla, L'cha Dodi, likrot kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. שמו אחד ושמו אחד לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום ומבורך. לקראת שבת לכובד אליך, כי הנה כל הברכה מראש מקדם. נסוכה נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום ומבורך. התעוררי, 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 כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום ומבורך.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום ומבורך.
As we prepare to light the Shabbat candles, we're thinking of our bar mitzvah this weekend, Byron Eaton, and we are praying that he and his family are having a joyous Shabbat dinner tonight as they prepare for him to be called to the Torah tomorrow morning as a bar mitzvah. So Byron, we're thinking of you and your parents and your brother and your sister, and we wish you a good Shabbos. We continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142, but the blessing for the candles will be on page 120.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue on page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah to mitzvot, Chukim umishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otan limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachvenu uvkumeinu nasiach bekukecha v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha umitzvotecha leolam va'ed ki heim chayenu ve'oreh yameinu uvahem nege yomam balayla nege yomam balayla le'ahavacha al tasir mimeinu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohel Amo Yisrael Ohel Amo Yisrael. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
We continue together with the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן.
One of the teachings by the rabbis about the Micha Mocha that I find profound comfort in is the story of Nachshon. The Micha Mocha, as you know, is the song that we sang on the shore of the sea, on the other side of the shore of the sea, after we had fled from the Egyptians. But the rabbis teach us that the song was actually sung on the near side first. That when the Israelites stood at the edge of the waters, having been slaves, none of them knew how to swim. And the waters had not yet parted as Moses was urging them to go into the water, and you could hear the trampling of the horses getting closer and closer and closer. And the Israelites felt trapped and terrified, not knowing how they would die, whether by Pharaoh's army or by the drowning in the sea. And Moses kept urging to go, and they were afraid, and they did not budge, except for one man, except for Nachshon. And Nachshon, who like the others could not swim, started walking into the water. And as he did so, he sang, Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among the gods that are worshipped? And he kept walking, and the water was rising higher and higher, and when he sang out Micha Mocha, again the waters had filled his mouth, and he had to spit it out and say, Mikach Mocha, who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders. But it was at that moment that the waters filled his mouth, and he still continued to sing because he had faith that redemption would still come, that there could be a better tomorrow, even as he faced the possibility of death. He still sang. He still hoped, he still prayed. And it was with that courage, it was because of the courage that Nachshon showed, that God in that moment parted the waters, allowing not only Nachshon to go forward, but everyone else as well. These are days that sometimes feel like the waters are coming higher and higher and we cannot stop it. But we must be like Nachshon. We must show courage to go forward, not backwards, to run towards freedom, towards peace, and not away from it. We continue on page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילו, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילו, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני אם לא לעולם בהר. די 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 די
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
Yisrael.
We continue with the Hashkivenu on page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'amideinu malkeinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom. V'amideinu malkeinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom. V'amideinu malkeinu
We continue together on page 162.
ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים והארץ ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם בעולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם בעולם.
We rise for the tefillah beginning on page 164.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftachu, Fiagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mekayeh Hakol, Atah Rav le'Oshia, Morid hatam. Mekakel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Sobek noflim verofei cholim, Umatir atzurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'gevurot, Umidomelach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yehallelujah selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We continue praying privately from page 172 through 180, standing or sitting as is your custom.
shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yoshvei tevel ve'imeru amen. Hosei shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Hosei shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yoshvei tevel ve'imeru amen. Osei shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Osei shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Ve'imru amen.
Even as the world begins to open up, as more and more people get vaccinated and COVID, thankfully, in at least this part of the world, is starting to take a dip, we remember that there are so many who are ill for so many reasons, struggling and fighting with different types of illnesses that attack their soul, their spirit, or their bodies. And so we take time at each and every service, bless you, to remember those who aren't feeling so well, who need our help, our comfort, and our support. And I remind you tonight, as I often do, if there are people in your life who are in need of healing, if they're in need of your prayers, they're also in need of your love and your support. And so take the time not only to pray for them, but to reach out to them, to offer words of comfort, to ask what assistance they may need, maybe drop off a little soup or some brownies or something sweet, just to put a smile on their face. And so our hearts and our prayers now turn towards those in need of healing as we pray together on page 371.
Sheberak Avoteinu Abraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi sheberach Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Berachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
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 Hear our prayer. And bless us as well.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way.
Mi sheberach avoteinu, mi sheberach imoteinu. Hear our prayer,
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 hear our prayer, hear our prayer,
hear our prayer,
hear our prayer,
hear our prayer,
hear our prayer,
hear our prayer.
hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
Last Saturday night, I got a message from a dear friend of mine in Cholon, Rabbi Galit Cohen Kedem, the rabbi for our sister congregation, Kodesh V'chol. And she sent me a message and she said, the strangest thing happened last night as I was giving the sermon. And then she sent me a video. It was a video of the drash that she gave last Friday night as a guest speaker for a congregation in England, one of the other congregations that Chodesh V'chol partners with. And she was giving the drash remotely from Cholon via Zoom. And then she had to run to her bomb shelter. It was a powerful sermon. It was one that not only taught the Torah for that Torah portion beautifully, but reminded us how we are supposed to take the Torah out into the world and into our lives. And so I asked Rabbi Galit if it was okay for us to share that, for me to share that sermon with all of you. And she said, of course. And it is my honor to be able to share her words of Torah with all of you.
One of the consequences or results of this past 15 months is, certainly for me, I don't know about anyone else, a complete lack of any sense of how time works anymore. So I couldn't tell you whether it is 2 years ago or 3 years ago or yesterday that Rabbi Galit Cohen Kedem came to visit us at Aleph, spent time with us, taught us, and just enjoyed our company and we hers. As we began the journey out from lockdown, one of the things we wanted to do was to rebuild some of those relationships, and so reached out to Galit to give our sermon this Shabbat morning. It is coincidence that we are also coming to the end of a week in which her hometown has been one of those places that has been hit by a rocket from Gaza, and it is so therefore we're just very lucky that Galit is still able to be with us this morning. So what I'm going to suggest is, if you haven't already, that you take the opportunity to put your computer onto speaker view so that you can see Galit as she speaks to us. And I'm really delighted and grateful and really feel very blessed that Rabbi Galit Cohen Kedem is going to speak to us this morning.
Dear friends, I have prepared a sermon, and just a minute ago a siren went off here, so you might hear the bombs just behind me. So I'm here in our bomb shelter. This is very awkward and I'm very, very emotional right now, so please excuse me. Thank you, Rabbi, for having me join today. Your beautiful service, Cantor and Rabbi, has been a great source of inspiration and calm for me this afternoon here in Cholon. What a week it has been. And when I think about the book of Numbers, which in Hebrew is called Bamidbar, in the desert, one can think about what it is to be in a liminal situation, in a situation that we are just in between being liberated from slavery and sovereign people, while walking into what will be one day the promised land. And so I can tell you, my friends, that this liminal situation is where I feel so deeply that we are today. Many times as a parent and as an educator and as a rabbi, when I'm approached with questions, my first reaction is, well, it's complicated. And it really is, because when we try to teach our children words of Torah, to fight racism, to accept the others for who they are, and to always strive for peace, there is this very thick, dark blanket of fear that overtakes us. And fear is fuel for so much hate and so much war. I go back to Torah and I ask our dear Torah, what can you have? What can you offer us to console us, to lead us, and to show us the way? Because the same exact texts are many times interpreted exactly in the opposite direction than what I believe in, what we believe in. So many times the same verses are taken and used to endorse hate and endorse the feeling of being victims and that this war will go on forever. But I choose to go back to Torah and ask questions about what is the right way to lead us in this difficult time. And really, if you are a Jew of the weekly portion, you never really make it into the promised land. If you think about it, it starts there in creation in the Garden of Eden, and you keep on going throughout the portions, and you end up in Mount Nevo, just overlooking the land, and you never really enter it. And I find this so interesting that we are really not taught by our weekly portions how to be sovereigns and how to live a life of Jewish and democratic values. And I think in many ways, this is what happens many times in modern days. We go to Torah and ask, how should we manage ourselves with technology? And how should we manage ourselves with capitalism? And how should we manage ourselves with so many of our modern issues that aren't necessarily spoken out to us and spelled out to us easily accessible in Torah? So I want to offer you today just one thought I have, and this is the thought of always having a choice. I'm thinking about these wanderers in the desert, these ones that are just now being counted, as Rabbi, you mentioned so beautifully earlier, counted one by one. And the Haftarah adds, even the ones who are disabled or women or children are counted in the eyes of the prophet. And I think at this point, one of the biggest teachings I have from the Torah portion and from Torah in general is that there are many, many voices, and we cannot let just one voice take over. There's always a prophet standing there. He's not very loved, this prophet. Usually prophets have been somewhat outskirts of community and not very popular. It's not fun. It's not a fun person to be at the party with, right? The prophet will always give you something that you need to listen to and that isn't easy to hear and to follow. But this idea that in Judaism, there's always a voice that will stand up against things and say, there must be another way. There must be a better way to do things. And this is a voice that I find very hopeful these days. I might, if it's okay, to take advantage of this opportunity and ask for your support. And when I say support, I do not mean support Israel or support the government of Israel. I'm asking for your spiritual and your empathy and your sympathy of the pain that's being caused as we speak right now, just outside my bomb shelter. And I ask you to be attentive to the various voices and not just the ones that maybe shout the loudest. There are so many beautiful attempts here in Israel these days to keep this fragile coexistence together. And it seems like hate is almost winning, but we cannot. We have been told by our ancestors, we have been told that God is love, and that the biggest choice of a life of belief, of having God in our lives, is choosing love. And I choose to love. I choose to see a prayer just last night of over 1,000 women, Muslim and Jews, led by Rabbi Tamar Elad Eppelbaum, and a sheikh from the village of Furidis, a female sheikh, and together they had a Zoom prayer just for women, praying for peace, and Zoom couldn't host everyone. There were over 1,000 women that joined this, I would say, spontaneous event. And I can keep on naming these initiatives, organized and spontaneous, of people that know that we are the majority, but we are the polite majority. We are a fearful majority. And I know that this cannot, these extreme voices cannot prevail. So I'm asking you to join me with telling people and telling ourselves it's complicated. It's complicated. We're still on the way. We're still in the midbar. We're still in the wilderness, searching for the way, for the right way to receive Torah. Just before Shavuot, the holiday of chesed, of grace, of seeing the other, of seeing the people that are in need. I'm asking for your prayers, and I'm asking for your understanding and your commitment to be part of these voices that aren't giving up on peace and on hope. So this has been a little bit more emotional than I expected it to be, and I didn't stick to my word by word sermon, which, by the way, I left on the desk when I ran into the shelter. So thank God I memorized part of it. But I do want to send you from here our appreciation and love. And I miss you very much. I had such a wonderful time with you, seeing your inspirational community. Hang in there. COVID is soon to be back to normal, or as we joke in Israel, thank God we're out of COVID. Things are back to normal. So now we can enjoy other normal problems that are not a pandemic. So I will ask you all to be in touch, to keep us in our prayers and our thoughts, and to maybe together we can figure out this new emet me'eretz titzmach, this new truth that is growing, sprouting from the land and not from above, not from the politicians and not from the leaderships that are not doing a very good job, if I may, but rather from the everyday people here in Holon, in Tel Aviv, in Furidis, in Gaza, everywhere in this country that really just want to believe and to see that there must be another way. So, toda raba and Shabbat Shalom.
Galit, Shabbat Shalom. Thank
What a gift her teachings, what a gift her voice is to all of us. I feel blessed to have her as someone that I call rabbi, someone that I can learn from, and I hope that you found her teaching as meaningful and as profound as I did. And like the rabbi in England, I too feel like it has been too long since Rabbi Galit has been able to be here. Her last visit to Sacramento was actually just a month before the shutdown, breakdown. What was that? I know, I'm confused between shutdown and breakdown. It feels like the same thing. Lockdown, that was the word. She was here just weeks before the lockdown, and yet it feels like a lifetime ago. And I look forward to when she will be able to visit us again in Sacramento and to teach her Torah in person. And so we have some brief announcements for tonight. Oh, I did forget something. I'm going to sit down now.
Last night I had the strangest dream. I never dreamed it before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed there was a mighty room, and the room was filled with women and men, and a paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when that paper was all signed and 1,000,000 copies were made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people down in the street below were dancing all round and round, and swords and guns and uniforms were scattered all around the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream. I never have dreamed it before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
That was absolutely moving and beautiful, Michael. Thank you. And so now we turn our attention towards announcements for the coming week. Tonight there will be an Oneg and Vibe for teens for our 8th graders and up. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 we celebrate Shabbat with Torah study, and then at 10:30 we celebrate the bar mitzvah of Byron Eaton with Shabbat morning services. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. our junior youth group is having a choose your own adventure movie night. And then on Sunday morning, it's hard to believe, but it is the last day of religious school for the school year. So religious school services start at 9:30. Closing day celebration is at 10 a.m. And at 1 p.m., our Madrachim will have their end of the year celebration. And then Sunday night on a more serious note at 4 p.m., our Social Justice Committee will be having a special presentation called Bringing It Home to Sacramento. Next Friday night, we hope that you will all join us for Staff Appreciation Shabbat. Our staff has been extraordinary over the last 14 months, keeping our morale up, keeping services going, keeping our congregation going, making sure that we still have community even as we are scattered throughout the Sacramento County, Yolo County, and beyond. And so we hope that you will be able to join us for that. Keep an eye open for a special post I'm going to put on CBI Doing Jewish, because I need your help. I'm whispering because I don't want Ryan and Dean to hear me, but I'm going to need your help. So please look at CBI Doing Jewish for a post that I'll put up tomorrow. And then next Saturday, May 29th, we will be celebrating the bat mitzvah of Mira Pierre. Monday, May 31st, our office will be closed in honor of Memorial Day. Please check this week's Chadashot and our website for details, links, how to sign on, and all of that other good stuff. So I want to say thank you tonight. As always, Cantor and Michael, you bring so much beauty, so much ruach to the service. Thank you. And Ryan and Dean, it's just so good to have somebody to look at. And so thank you both for making us feel like we're not alone in this big, big room. And thank you for all the joy you bring to us as well. And thank you to all of you who are with us out in the hinterland, out there in your jammies with your glasses of wine, enjoying your own personal oneg. It's good to know that you guys are with us too. And so now we rise for the Aleinu on the bottom half of page 586.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we were free to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu nishabeach. It's time to when we are here no more, we commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu neshabeach. It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Aleinu leshabeach. It's time to live our praise. Va'anachnu kore'im umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malachei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Sadly, this week, we have seen more loved ones of our congregation pass away. And it is our tradition to welcome those back into our midst, those who have most recently said goodbye to a loved one. And it is with heavy hearts that we welcome back Todd and Paula Mendel after the passing of Todd's beloved mother and Paula's beloved mother-in-law, Blanche Mendel, who passed away earlier this week and was laid to rest in New York. Todd's mother was a wonderful woman who was strong and sweet and who desired to live out her life in her own home until the very end. And what a blessing that her family made it possible for her to do so, surrounded by people who cared for her and watched over her into her very last day. And so Todd and Paula, our hearts go out to you. We know that you're still in New York. We look forward to you coming back here in California so that we may comfort you in person. It is also with sadness that we welcome into our midst tonight Samantha Feigenbaum, Todd Feigenbaum, and Carrie Feigenbaum upon the recent passing earlier this week of Carol Sauer, the beloved mother of Samantha, beloved mother-in-law of Todd, and beloved grandmother of Carrie Feigenbaum. Our condolences to all of you. And Carrie, we look forward to you being back in our midst here in Sacramento in the coming weeks. Our condolences to your entire family. It is also with sadness that we recall the recent passing of Kitty Patterson, the beloved sister of Dave Brubaker, beloved sister-in-law of Elaine Berghausen, and beloved aunt of David Muller and Tasha Brubaker. Also with sadness, we recall the recent passing of Marcia Green, the beloved wife of Mandy Green, beloved mother of Horizon Green and Rabbi James Green, beloved mother-in-law of Cooper Stoughton and Jennifer Green, and beloved grandmother of Talia and Cole Green. Also with sadness, we recall the recent passing of Gerald Perlin, the beloved father of Hillary Eaton, beloved father-in-law of Chris Eaton, and beloved grandfather of Byron, Dylan, and Brooke Eaton. Also, sadly, we recall the recent passing of Bert Silver, the beloved father of Matthew Silver, beloved father-in-law of Jenny Guarnica, and beloved grandfather of Julian Silver. Also, with sadness, we recall the recent passing of Marvin Levine, the beloved uncle of Damon Hershenson and beloved great-uncle of Dylan and Ryan Hershenson. Zichronam Livracha. May all of their memories forever be a blessing. We also recall loved ones who have passed away at this time in years past. We remember Alfred Appel, Gerda Appel, Etole Ayach, Doris Blum, Frida Chern, Nejma Shatrit, Robert Cohen, Albert Cahotis, Eugene Dworkin, Max Edel, John Eisen, Jerry Eisenberg, Helen Gumpert Forster, Marlene Kurtz Fowler, Hilda Novick Freitz, Carmela Grimaldi, Alice Hillard, Hattie Himmelreich, Evelyn Hooker, Eva Horovitz, Lillian Caldor, Bella Carnot, Diane Karsh, Faith Kohler, Hugh Coppell, Aaron Krotinger, Robert Lawson, Philip Levy, Rita Bornstein Levy, Stanley Macht, Eleanor Mandelson, Cecilia Marks, Bertha Myers, Joseph Miller, Josephine Miller, Ruth Miller, Mayor Pasternak, Raymond Pettengell, Alan Rosoff, Sam Sankery, Leo Shemansky, Sarah Tall, Leonard Wangro, Harvey Weinstein, Heidi Williamson, and Bella Zimmerman. If there are names of your loved ones that you would like to add to the Kaddish list tonight, please feel free to write those names into the chat so we could add their names to our own loved ones. And if you were saying Kaddish for someone tonight, I invite you to please rise so that we may offer these words of comfort to you. Hamakom yenechem etchem betok sha'ar of Leit Zion v'Yushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We rise as a community to stand with those who grieve and those who mourn, to offer them comfort as we continue together with the Mourners Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mebarach Leolam Omei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitba'ar V'yitraman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shmei Tekudsha Barichu Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'yishirata Tushbachata V'nechemata Damiran Ve'alma V'imru, amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say, amen. We conclude the service tonight with a prayer that was written in the early 70s, a prayer that was written as a peace song, as a prayer for peace. And I know that it is on a page.
It is on page 652.
So if you have a prayer book with you, please turn to page 652 so you can sing with us. This prayer is called Aniva Atah. You and I will change the world, and then all will join us.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, אני ואתה אז יבוא כבר כולם, אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה, אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה, יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא, אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה, אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.